Once again, we go into pre-season with £40 million on our profit-only budget. And while we celebrated our win, our rivals were winning the Champions League. So I got to work bringing in talents for the future like that Mexican NewGen my scouts found earlier. A nice little release clause on him. They also found this absolutely insane Italian winger who's only 17 and cost me £5 million. A bargain. Financially, we got a good bank balance and our debts are now down to £270 million. So we're going in the right direction. We got a bid for Ricardo Horta. He's now 31 and not good enough to take us any further, so it's time to cash in on him. Our two new signings are in the door, but Andros is staying at Santos Laguna on loan for the rest of the season to hopefully gain some first-team football. Consigli, however, I am promoting to the first team and I've made him available for the B team and the under-19s. Annoyingly, Horta rejects his move to Betis, so I may move him to the B team as well. One thing I do love is Kalulu's development. Good God, he's a special player now. My scouts keep throwing me unreal names with this talent they found in Argentina who looks like he could be an insane future centre-back, but he's just signed a new contract so wouldn't be interested in moving just yet. Also, how mental is this goalkeeper that came through our youth intake? I forgot to mention it, but Robert Lewandowski did indeed retire. I might hire him though. Which I did as an under-19s coach. First game of the season and we concede a penalty after just 5 minutes. Good start. Even better when Costa saves it though. And from there on the momentum completely shifted. Even in the first half alone we destroyed them with goals. Ansu Fati with the first and then a first half hat-trick from Rafael Leao, who it really feels like will be taking on the task of the talisman for goals this season despite Vitor Roque leading the line up front. In the second game Leao also picked up another hat-trick, so it's 6-2 for him from the left. And then we lost a win in the 93rd minute. Champions League fixtures are in and back-to-back matches with Arsenal and Liverpool, that will be very difficult. Before the window closed though, we also sold Ricardo Horta to Villarreal for the price of 11.75 million, which is pretty much what we spent this window already. Vitor Roque got himself off the mark for the season in this 2-0 win over Sevilla with a lovely little finish. But it was time for the first El Clasico of this 4th season. And at the Bernabeu, a corner which wasn't cleared was played to Kalulu, whose lovely ball played out wide to Pedri put us 1-0 up. But in the second half, hey, we take them when they happen for us. This is the worst defending I've ever seen and Vitor Roque is laughing all the way home as we win 2-0. Even though we still win, I'm puzzled by Nascimento's choices for positions for players. Like, why is De Jong and Timber switched natural positions? But still, hard to be mad when you just beat Real Madrid 2-0. We nearly went through the whole month without conceding a goal until we went to Italy and got done 2-0 in the Champions League by Inter Milan. But overall, I feel Nascimento has really made us a much more defensively stronger side, as well as putting in the more situations where we tend to score a lot of goals compared to when Xavi was in charge. Rafael Leao has also been a game changer as we see him score here against Monaco in the Champions League. The only goal of the game as well. And we sail through October without conceding a goal. That is fantastic. And after 10 games, we are still unbeaten in the league, 5 points clear of Real Madrid, and our players are dominating statistics, especially in the average ratings, which are incredible by the way, and 2 of them are defenders. And it's great to see Vitor Roque step up into the striker role after Lewandowski's retirement, and his finishing ability was really on form at the start of November here against Eibar in a 2-0 win. But of course, that first loss was going to come eventually, and it was a tonking from Atletico Madrid, 3-0. Thankfully, we bounced back with a huge 4-0 win against Betis. Back to winning ways, you say? And then Arsenal beat us 1-0 in London. Nah, never mind. Followed by getting a draw against Girona, which unfortunately puts us back on level points with Real Madrid now. And into December, and Liverpool are turning up at the Nou Camp, beating us 2-1 in the Champions League, which is not looking great for us by the way in this league phase. Currently down in 18th place after 6 games with only 9 points. Back in the league though, we continue to perform and the goals are spread out too. We killed Villarreal early with 2 goals within 10 minutes by Pedri and Gavi. And Ansu Fati closed it out in the second half to make it 3-0. We did, however, unfortunately drop more points at home to Getafe, which annoyingly drops us down to 2nd place going into the new year, which shows how tight it is at the top, with both teams only losing once so far. But of course it's January, and I'm getting bids for Pedri, totaling a measly £72 million, which I'm obviously going to reject. But they just continue to keep sending me higher bids. And they went higher and higher. But I stayed strong, he didn't want to leave, so I just kept rejecting them. He's just way too good to sell for any price that low, and I don't want to sell him. Not that it counts for too much, but we did beat Real Madrid in the Supercopa final 4-2. Leao scored a late winner for us in an away game against Mallorca to snatch 3 points. And we progress in the Copa del Rey while in Ibiza. We obviously need to win games in the Champions League to qualify, and it didn't start well when the former Barcelona player Trincao scored the opener against Sporting after 21 minutes. However, just 5 minutes later, Ansu Fati answered back with an equaliser, but then it became the Vitor Roque show, who was just on fire in this game, capitalising on goalkeeper mistakes. Starting in stoppage time of the first half, he picked up his second and our third goal in 5 minutes after the break, before scoring his hat-trick with 15 minutes to go. 3 points we really needed. Closing towards the end of January, I was looking at the youngsters we have, and Nascimento hasn't exactly been giving them much game time, and I feel like sending them out on loan will benefit them just like it has for Andros and Anderson, who, as you can see, have been playing a lot of first-team football. And Andros especially has been growing nicely in his development. Las Palmas came in for Mbomio, who funny enough is managed by Fernando Torres, and with regular starts I'm happy to send him there. Eibar was the only team willing to offer Consigli first-team football, so I'm going to reject the other 2 team proposals. Our last Champions League game was in Nice, France, and we had to rely on a 92nd minute Vitor Roque goal to win the game 2-1. And we end the league phase in 11th place, so we'll have to play in the playoff, but we have reclaimed top spot in La Liga after Real Madrid took another loss. Consigli eventually ended up on loan at Osasuna, which came in late, who turned out to be an even better team for him to go to because they have perfect training facilities and they're in 19th place in the league, so they'll be needing someone of his quality to pull them out of trouble. In the Copa del Rey, we found ourselves with a penalty with the score tied at 1-1, and the keeper makes a great save, but no worries, Vitor Roque will score that open goal, or so we thought. And guess what happened? Yep. They scored in the 94th minute to win and knock us out of the competition. It seemed to have rubbed off into the next game in the league, as well as the first leg of the Champions League playoff, as well as we lose 1-0 to Villarreal. No sweat, we just beat him in the second leg at home. I'm sorry, what? And yes, I'm fully aware that Ricardo Horta scored the first goal. Thankfully, our league form got a little bit better and we still only lost 1 game. Real Madrid aren't making this very easy though, and we keep asking the question, winning 4-0. And then we lost 4-0 to Levante, who are currently in 19th place by the way. We kind of recovered the month of fixtures, but it was another late goal against Eibar that cost us another win, which allows Real Madrid to go top should they win their game in hand. And we play both Madrid sides next month, with El Clasico coming right at the end of the month. Before that though, an away trip to Betis could be tricky. However, we looked like we were getting back to our best, and Vitor Roque picked up 2 goals in the first half. And in the second half, Talis Magno, who we haven't seen much from this season, scored a third. It wasn't going to be easy against Atletico Madrid, and they surprised us with an early goal from Alvaro Morata. It took 20 minutes for us to finally break them down, and Vitor Roque found the equaliser. But take a look at goal of the season from Ruben Neves, who smashed one in from range. And then he won the game with a penalty right after to make it 3-1. And a naughty 1-0 win led us into the craziest El Clasico game you're ever going to see. Yes, you are reading that right. We beat them 8-1. 8. Hilariously, they actually took the lead in this game, and that didn't last longer than a minute, and then the goals just didn't stop. And Carlo Ancelotti should be fired on the spot for this absolute disgrace, as he was completely tactically outplayed by Nascimento, and this Barcelona team, who were 5-1 up at half-time, continued the absolute onslaught in the second half. One for the record books, I'm sure. A great day for Barcelona fans and for Ansu Fati, who despite missing a penalty at the start of the game, when it was only 2-1, scored a hat-trick, which puts us in the driving seat with just 4 games left and 4 points ahead. But of course, we love to fumble things, and this draw gives Real Madrid hope. And with 1 game left, both teams can still win the league, with our final game being against Alaves, who has the league's top scorer and the highest average rating, Rafa Mir. Also, look at Osasuna fly up to 14th place. Consigli is slaying there and absolutely destroying the league. 15 goals in 15 games with 2 assists. They were in the relegation zone. Consigli and his Osasuna side played against Real Madrid in the final game of the season, where just 1 goal was scored by the Madrid midfielder Camavinga. We handled the task against Alaves very well, however, and despite Leao having to go off injured, Rafinha scored the opening goal. And on the 70th minute, Frankie de Jong's run from deep was met as he smashed the ball in for our second of the game. Alaves had no response, and we win La Liga with 96 points and only 2 losses all season. That's back-to-back, baby. Nascimento has done wonderful things in La Liga to make us defensively like a tank. But the early exits from the Champions League, that needs to change starting from next season. And with so many players wanted and still roughly £40 million in our budget to spend, maybe the squad will change too.